This is the fourth video of the Forged Fiction series. If you haven't seen the other episodes on the Gospel of Mark, Matthew, and Luke, be sure to check them out by visiting the channel. But let's just see what the Gospel of John has to offer. John's Jesus is a Superman without a Clark Kent. This Jesus knows that he's God and makes a point of it. He constantly calls himself the bread of life in John 6:35, 41, and 48. The light of the world in John 8:12 and 9:5. The Son of Man in John 8:28. The way, the truth, the life in John 11:25, etc., etc., etc. John's Jesus wasn't even born of a virgin. John 1:45 clearly states that he was Joseph's son, nor was he born in Bethlehem. John consistently denies this link, insisting that Jesus comes from Nazareth. In opposition to the other Gospels, this Jesus was pretty anti-Semitic. Luke and Matthew mention the Jews 5 times apiece, and Mark mentions the Jews 6 times. But in John, they are brought up 71 times, usually depicted as conniving prosecutors out to murder Jesus. They badmouth him and stalk him. John's Jesus was the Mel Gibson of the Gospels. Well, that doesn't sound like the Jesus this adorable little raptor has come to love. But that's just a Bible study. So John was a dick. So what? What's this have to do with the mythology of John? It's believed John was an independent writer, but that's probably not true. Evidence suggests that John was fully aware of the other Gospels and rewrote them in his own words. For example, John copies Mark's pairing of the feeding of 5,000 and Jesus is walking on water in the exact same sequence. The most likely reason John would connect these events in the same order is that he is borrowing from Mark. It would also explain why they share so many precise details in common, such as that 5,000 were fed, that exactly 12 baskets of crumbs remained, that Jesus started with exactly 5 loaves and 2 fish, and that feeding the crowd would otherwise have cost 200 denarii. There are many similar matches between John and material in Luke and Matthew as well. Luke especially. Both John and Luke, and they alone, insert the same new character into the story, Martha, the sister of Mary. Both alone have Jesus produce a miraculously vast catch of fish. Both alone claim there was a second Judas among the 12 disciples. Both alone claim Judas Iscariot was possessed by Satan. Both alone report that it was the right ear of the high priest's slave that the disciples chopped off. Both alone have Pilate thrice declared Jesus innocent. Both alone say Jesus was buried where no man had yet been laid. Both alone have 2 angels at his tomb. Both alone have the risen Jesus visit the disciples in Jerusalem, not Galilee, and in a room, not outdoors, and show his wounds and share a meal with them, and so on. But if that's not good enough, the story has a very similar literary tool to the one used in Mark. Actually, not similar, but identical. The overall structure of what happens turns out to be in an elegant sandwich form. In John 2:1 through 12, a wedding is completed at Cana, featuring a mother and her son. A miracle is requested and fulfilled. Complete faith in a traditional Jewish context. And the story ends at Capernaum. In John 4:43 to 53, a funeral is averted at Cana, featuring a father and his son. A miracle is requested and fulfilled. Complete faith in a marginal Jewish context. And this story began at Capernaum. John 2:13 to 22, the clearing of the temple. A miracle is requested and not fulfilled. Jesus' words are thrown back at him. A question is thus voiced as disbelief. A metaphor, in this case of the resurrection, is misunderstood. The temple Jews have no faith. John 4:1 to 15, the Samaritan woman at Jacob's well. A miracle is requested and not fulfilled. Jesus' words are thrown back at him. A question is thus voiced as disbelief. A metaphor, in this case of living water, is misunderstood, and the woman has no faith. And I could go on, but that would spoil the mystery. The parallels are far too numerous and neat to be accidental. But these aren't the only secrets John is hiding. For further reading, check out On the Historicity of Jesus by Richard Carrier, or David Fitzgerald's Nailed. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and if you like the content, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. Be sure to share if you learned something, and we'll see you next time.